into your behavior as a human being?
Well, I would say that the European Christ image has probably been the greatest tool towards the psychological colonization of African people. Because as I travel the world, that is one of the constant relics of European culture that I find almost everywhere I go. Whether it's the Caribbean islands, throughout the continent of Africa, whether it's Europe, whether it's here in the States, the white image of God, and the fact that Black people are still comfortable having it. See, that's the greater issue. Why are we still so comfortable having the white image of the Creator in our homes, in front of our children, at the church? If you are content with a white image of God, you are also content with a white oppressor. You cannot love God in white flesh and be opposed to a white oppressor in European flesh. So that symbol, that white Jesus, is a good indicator of the political consciousness that the person has who owns that picture. It's like if you're looking for a wife, if you're dealing with a woman who's okay with a white image of Christ, anybody comfortable with their enemy standing in and substituting for their deity is completely comfortable with white supremacy and domination. And let us be clear, the psychological domination of African people has been greater. It has been a greater Holocaust than any other aspect of our experience under white power. The psychological domination was worse than the physical. It was worse than the slavery. It's worse than the economic Holocaust, the cultural Holocaust, the intellectual Holocaust. Because when someone controls the thinking, they automatically control the feeling and they automatically control the behavior. Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who was a colleague of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, Dr. Woodson in Miseducation of the Negro, which was published while Mr. Garvey was in prison. In that book, Dr. Woodson says, when you control a man's mind, you don't have to worry about his thoughts, and you definitely don't have to worry about his actions. You don't have to tell him he's not welcomed. He will automatically remove himself from the table. And the greatest achievement, psychological achievement of racism to this very date, is it has convinced Black people that white people are invincible. That is the greatest achievement of white supremacy. They have convinced us that they are invincible. No one else supremacy.
Right.
Most of us have already been psychologically dominated.
That's right.
Most of us are already psychologically helpless, but we don't want to admit it. It's like the dark-skinned sister who's absolutely self-hatred. It is absolutely self-hatred. It is the internalization of European attitudes about African people. We have internalized the attitudes that the enemy has towards us, and we reflect those attitudes at one another. You couldn't have Black on Black crime